So I'm Nigel Melville. I'm the Director of Professional Rugby at the RFU. My main role obviously is to develop professional rugby.
We're here at the launch of the GK IPA Championship for this season. Can you tell me what the championship is for in terms of relation to development of rugby, the Premiership and the structure below that?
It's a good question. I think it's a question that hasn't always been asked, and I think having a good purpose for a league is very, very important. For me, it's about the development of the game. It's the second tier of professional rugby in England, and very, very important to us in the development, or potentially the development of players and coaches and referees who will hopefully aspire to go into the Premiership and on to England. So I think that's really captures what we're trying to do.
I've heard you talk a lot about getting academy players from the Premiership more involved, or playing more basically, because otherwise they'll be on the sidelines on a Saturday. Apart from the notion of it, how do you make sure that happens, and how do you measure that?
Well, certain things out of our control, obviously. It comes down to the clubs who have the players in the academies to actually move the players and put them into appropriate playing levels. So I think what we had to do was to open up the opportunity to do that, be it at National 1, in the Championship or in the Premiership. So what I'm very keen on is actually getting the younger players into the appropriate level of competition and having a playing programme for the year, so they play games every week and play the right numbers of games, because I don't believe that the development of players is just about being coached and being in strength and conditioning sessions, because there's a lot more to the game than that. We're called players for a reason. We want to play rugby, and we want to get out there at the weekend and play and compete. We want to win, we want to learn how to lose, we want to prepare for games, to recover from games, and we also want to look at how we analyse our performance and all those things that go into becoming a really good player and the best we can possibly be. So I think that really for me is all about the player. Let's put the player at the heart of this. Let's make sure that our competitions give them the appropriate level of competition.
And have you staffed up in able to monitor the players and from that age group or the development level?
Well, absolutely. Through the academies, obviously we are now very close with Don Barrell coming on board with our academy director's job. We have the head of elite coaching, Gordon Lord, now. He's in there and he's really helping us develop bespoke programmes for coaches. And on the other side of it, we're just Dean Ryan's monitoring the performance of the players, where they play every week. All our coaches are out there, not watching Premiership games on TV and not going to the big stadiums, but going to the appropriate level where these players are playing, and then having good feedback to the players of how they're performing and giving them a development plan.
Good. I'd like to move on to women's rugby, because you got a bit of flack a couple of weeks ago for the, I think it was no great surprise to the squad that their contracts were over at the end of the World Cup, but it would be interesting to know what the general plan is, this whole idea of 2-year chunks rather than 4-year cycles. How does that work, and can you give us a word of explanation on?
It's all about player pools, really. I mean, at the end of the day, the professional rugby department is trying to win competitions and events and games, and we have actually some big tournaments coming up, which are all sevens, which is Commonwealth Games, Rugby World Cup sevens and the 7 Series in the next 12 months. And it's important that we're competitive in those areas, because we do say we want to be competitive in 15s and 7s. After all, if we can't be, then who can be? You know, it's very important we do that. I think also as well, we've got a new competition which we've invested in heavily. We want our 15s players playing in that 15s competition. So at the end of the day, it's about the pool of players. We've got a very small pool of elite players at the moment. Some great players, but they've been stressed by playing 7s and 15s. We need it to be bigger. To grow that pool of players, we need to have a great competition where they can play on a weekly basis, compete on a regular basis, and then we can select a bigger pool from that squad.
Yes.
So eventually I think we'll have squads professionally signed up, contracted players of 15s and 7s. We're just not there yet, and so at the moment we're having to, to look at that pool and say, where is it best to spend your resource and your time and your effort. At the moment, this will be 7s in the next year, whilst we develop this pool of players.
Yes. Do you have, at the end of the day, do you have one overall KPI or is it just about for your job, or is it about individual competitions? And if you're ticking the boxes and winning the silverware, is that what you're?
Well, at the high level, obviously, it's about win ratios for our national teams, and we want to make sure that we are competitive in the top of the world game. It could be on rankings, it's also on percentage wins, which is keen to make sure that we are at the required level, because one drives the other. And on the other side, it's developing the development pathway for the players, men and women, to make sure that the pathway is appropriate. They're not identical, they're very different. Men's and women's pathways will be slightly different. Yep. We know under 20 is very, very important to the men. We know that potentially our universities are very key for us in the women's game as well, and how that's developing. And we also think education is important for men and women. So there's lots of things going on in there that drives the end result, which is a KPI.
Very good. Moving slightly away and going to your experience of the US, which was your previous job, everybody seems to want a part of American rugby at the moment, and it's definitely in a development stage. They've got the World Sevens next summer. They haven't got the World Cup yet, but maybe that's along the line. But possibly the Pro 14 is going to be a part of that too. How do you see it all panning out for American rugby from your informed perspective?
It's about being patient. It's every decade it gets stronger, and they've got to keep moving that forward. And at the moment they're dealing in decades, not years, because you're growing from the bottom. So we've grown at the bottom from young kids playing, getting all the schools playing across the country, improve the college programs, improve the coaching, improve the refereeing, improve the competitions. There's a lot of work to be done in that area. And so whilst they're moving forward, it's never fast enough.
Yep.
And everybody knows it's the biggest sports market in the business, across the world. So everyone's trying to get a piece of that. Well, I think just be a little bit more patient. I don't think there's huge opportunities there at the moment at the top end. I think the national teams will grow and develop. They've qualified for the World Cup, as America's won for the first time for a long time. The women are in the top 4 in the Women's Rugby World Cup. Their sevens teams, men and women, are doing really well on the world circuits and the respective circuits. So you can see the seeds of progress, and they need commercial backing, they need some more support, and I think there's opportunities going forward for them. And there'll be a flagship, and below that the youth game will grow and they'll connect as they move forward. So be patient with them. They're working really hard. There's some great people over there, and I think it's really important that we're just patient and don't try and rush it.
Lovely, thank you very much. One last thing, are you enjoing your new job? I know it's a year now, is it? Is it a year?
Yeah, just a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Enjoying it?
Very, very interesting job, very exciting. Working with the England teams has been great, but working with the development programs and really getting involved with the academies and clubs and being involved back where I was with the clubs is really interesting, and I'm loving it. Great people.
Well, good luck with it. Thanks very much.
No.